Now let's listen to me. I'm going to be talking about what it means to stand together and how when we've got this God-empowered identity and we know who we are in Christ, we're empowered to stand together with friendships and with people who are going to help us be all that we were created to be. Again, it's going to bring success to our lives. A life of real influence and real power and real success is never lived alone, ever. It's always lived together in community with other people, because any successful person is never successful alone. They never get there alone, and they never travel the journey alone either. There's always a lot of other people around them who also want them to experience success. The problem is, when we are not secure in the gospel love of who we are, there's all kinds of ways that our relationships get messed up. One of the biggest ones is comparison. Roosevelt said, "Comparison is the thief of all joy." And you might think that it doesn't affect you, but it affects all of us more than we realize. Guys, you might think that you need to have big muscles, or you need to be good at sports. I know in the town I grew up in, if you didn't play hockey, you just didn't quite make the cut. And girls, it can be all kinds of things. I mean, we compare, it can be body image, it can be money, it can be abilities, it can be popularity, but comparison always leaves us empty and leads us to jealousy. Sometimes even leads us to gossip. These things are always going to leave us empty. If we can ground ourselves in the gospel truth and the gospel love that our road was crafted specifically for us, it prevents us from looking to the right and to the left and wishing we had what other people have. We're actually able to take ownership for our own lives and enjoy them. Mark 10:35 says, "Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to him. 'Teacher,' they said, 'we want you to do for us whatever we ask.' 'What do you want me to do for you?' he asked. They replied, 'Let one of us sit at your right and the other at your left in your glory.' 'You don't know what you're asking,' Jesus said. Later on, Jesus said, he called all of them together and he said, 'You know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many.'" Jesus wants us to be free from needing to clamor to be at the front of the line. We get to be free from that. James and John, they wanted these positions of authority. They wanted these positions of importance. But how can we stand together with the people around us when we're always trying to get ahead of them or be in front of them or say more than them or get better grades than them? We can't. But Jesus says we are free from that because the gospel says that we are loved if we will just receive it and believe it. And if we can get that mindset, we can take ownership of our own lives and enjoy the life that was created specifically for us. And we can even take it a step further. Jesus says he was the servant of all. He calls us to be servants of all. Servant doesn't sound like fun, but let me tell you, when it comes to influencing the world and when it comes to living a life of success, it's always about building value into other people. It's about looking around you and seeing the needs, making other people feel important, calling out the best in other people, raising other people up, elevating the people around you. That's how you make influence, and it's actually how you bring change into the world. Sure, you can build a bank account, you can build all kinds of things that aren't lasting, but build people and change the world, because the world changes through hearts, through real people. And if you will dedicate your life to building value into other people, you will make greater change for the kingdom of God than you ever could have imagined. So stand together with other people and take ownership of your own life.
I'm 15 years old and just heading into grade 10. My grade 9 year was a bit of a struggle. I kind of fell in with the wrong group, and it really affected like my stress levels and my schooling, and I kind of pushed away friends that really cared about me and became really close with this other group of friends that might have not been the best for me. At the start of the year, I went into school very excited about going to high school. I wanted to try all these different things, take advantage of all these opportunities like sports and clubs and everything. And somewhere along the line, I just came really close with this group that was in my homeroom because I spent almost all day with them, didn't get to see the friends that I hung out with before as much. I really cared about what they thought about me, how I looked, how I acted, how I talked around them. And it made me change into a person I really didn't want to be. I had good grades before, they kind of went down a little bit the more I associated with this group. And it was just hard for me to get back and almost realize what was happening, because I didn't really want to accept the fact that I became one of those girls that changed for other people, because I was never like that before. And it really affected the way I viewed that year and the rest of my life, because the friends that I were hanging out with before, they were very focused on school, focused on what they're going to be when they grow up, all these things that help you with your future. And this new group that I was hanging out with, they weren't really focused on that, so it was kind of like a wake-up call when my teachers kept telling me and bringing up to my parents and everything that I was kind of falling in with some not so good people. Social media was a big part of my life this year. I just found that I spent more time on my phone than I definitely should have. I was on Instagram a lot looking at all these different posts of people, and I always wanted to be like them. So I saw these popular people, try to dress like them, try to act like them, do the things that they were doing, because I thought it would make me, closer with the popular people, the group that I was hanging out with. And it just made me change into a person that I never really wanted to be. I felt really lost, really alone, because it was I convinced myself that this is what I wanted. This is just me, this is what I want to do, but actually it was kind of more what I thought I should do, and it wasn't really the true me, and it really affected the way I talked to people, it affected the way people saw me, it affected a lot of stuff in my life, and I almost convinced myself that this was the real me, and that before was just the person I was before, and now this is this new me. But then at the end of the year, I kind of started realizing that, maybe this year would have gone a lot better if I would have, stuck to who I really am, and it's not, this person that dresses like everyone else, this person that just hangs out with this one group of people, Definitely affected my relationship with God in a negative way. I found that there wasn't a ton of people that I was hanging out with weren't really, Catholic or Christian. They didn't really have any spiritual belief, and it really affected me, because if they invited me out somewhere Saturday or Sunday, I would skip church to go hang out with them, and it happened just once or twice, but then I stopped going completely, and I just realized that I haven't done anything to do with my church or any churches in almost a year, and it totally changed my life outside of school and in school. Changed like my family atmosphere, like just the way that I did stuff, what I did with my free time for sure. From Psalms 139, 13 to 18, like really helped me get through it and become like the person I want to be. And my favorite part was when it said, "Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex," because it was just a little reminder to me that there's only one true me. You know, everyone's unique, everyone's different, so I shouldn't try to act like someone else because God made me the way I'm supposed to be. To be an amazing friend definitely means that you support your friends no matter what. Be there for them and want for them whatever they want. And yeah, just like know the real them and accept the real them. Don't try to make them into someone that they're not. Don't like let them become someone that they're not. You know, always keep them on the right track and support one another while you do it.
I've learned that in order to influence this world, you have to know what some of your strengths are. So each of us have various strengths and giftings from God, and it may not seem like you have any strengths, but you do not realize what your potential is, and every person is gifted and has a strength. For example, you may have the gift of leadership, or you may be strongly gifted at math or academics, maybe at sports, and each of these giftings, it can be used to influence God's kingdom and other people. For me personally, I did not realize myself that I had these giftings and strengths. It was actually other people that pointed it out to me. So I might have been just going about my day and doing what I regularly do, and to me it may not seem like a gift, but to another person it may be an absolute blessing, and they will come up to me and tell me, "Wow, you're very gifted in this. Like, you didn't know it yourself, but thank you so much for helping this." And it was other people that helped me realize that I had a lot of these giftings and strengths. One of my strengths is communication, and this is important because it helps us communicate with one another. So we'll be going on a class trip to a local Bible camp, and I'm the kind of person that breaks the ice in the conversations after the main discussion. And that ties back into what I said earlier, because somebody came up to me after I had done this again, and they said, "You make conversation very easy because of your gift of communication." So that helped me to see my strength a lot. One of my strengths is not English. It is not my forte. And actually, somebody came up to me and helped me within the class because at one point I wasn't doing too well, and so I was very grateful to that person. I am absolutely okay with the fact that I'm not great at English, but I'm very good at communication, and God gives me the ability to build up my strengths. I believe it is important to use your strengths because God has given them to you, and you can use it to help a lot of people. For example, I also am gifted in math, and I've used that to help so many people in my class. So instead of focusing on English, which I don't excel at, I can focus on the other strengths and use that to bless other people. Like, I can still work on English, but I will choose to focus on my strengths. So the various giftings that God has given you, you can use that to bless a lot of people.
When we stand together in power, we're also able to take ownership for our own lives. Just like Maya was talking about, we are able to live the lives that we actually want to live deep down. It's a game changer.